Let's take a look at some information charts on basic attention token for BraveNewCoin. So Brave, the browser, is a wildly popular alternative to Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Opera, Windows Explorer. They say here they're 3 times faster than Chrome. A lot of the speed comes from automatically blocking, tracking, tracers, ads, that sort of thing, which inherently speeds up load times. People generally have good reviews about the browser. They love using it. I don't use it personally, but more and more people are using it, and they go here and break down the differences between the browsers. And that's kind of the first step. Is we built this browser. It's on paper and practicality wise, it's better than everything else, really. The biggest issue people tend to have is certain websites just won't load because the tracking and tracing is so built into the website. The website has problems loading. So that's step one. Step two is then, okay, we have a token, which I don't necessarily think makes a bunch of sense the way they did it, but it kind of is what it is now. Does that token match the protocol? Does it give it a use case? I think, unlike most of DeFi, the BAT use case is very sound and solid. If you look at UniSushi, Comp, Balancer, whatever else, it's like, yes, they have protocol revenue. I get it. But they're really just kind of seemingly a cash grab. Whereas this was definitely also a cash grab, but it also has a use case. So you can use BAT for payment to content creators, and there are also Brave rewards, which pay users to basically watch ads or pay for their attention. That was the whole idea behind it. The reason initially that they made the ERC20 token was because at the time they had said it couldn't scale with Bitcoin or wasn't capable of scaling with anything else. And so it made sense. ICOs were hot. One thing led to another, right? It makes sense, right? It continues to make sense. But the problem is now, speed up to 2021, ETH fees are incredibly high. How you interact with BAT is mainly through third parties and KYC, AML'd portals or centralized exchanges. So it doesn't not work, but it could definitely be much better. I'm not saying it has to be on BTC. I mean, if this thing ports over to Solana, AVAX, or some other chain, it's irrelevant really, as long as the functionality is intact. Whatever is the cheapest and easiest thing for the end user and the creator. It's just a win-win for everybody. Like I said, they did do an ICO in 2017, 35 million. Here's how the proceeds were split. At this point in time, my guess is most of that's been spent or sold off. You can see it's a fixed supply at around 1.5 billion, 1.4 billion. I know they're sitting on a pile of BAT, at least last time I checked, and I don't remember what their plans were for that, they being Brave. But similar to Link, it's good to look into this stuff. When are they selling? What are they selling? How much are they selling? Is it predictable? Is that going to have an impact on price? These are all questions you just need to ask it when one entity is essentially a whale for a project and controls a significant percentage of the token supply. If we look at the total growth of verified creators by platform, most of them are on YouTube, followed by Twitter and Reddit. I actually think Twitch is the best application for BAT after YouTube. If they can compete in any way with any social media platform, even Patreon on a monetary basis, that's a big win for them. It looks like since July, since maybe August, the creators have kind of flattened out, plateaued a bit. This may be related to changes in the incentivization for verifying as a creator. They also have a sort of buyback program to pay for the Brave rewards. At least I think that's what this is. I'm pretty sure that's what this is. And this is where they buy it. This is for how much. So there's kind of this loop of you get paid to view rewards. They send it to you. You maybe sell it on the exchange or hold on to it. And then they buy it again later. 42 million monthly active users, 14 million daily active users. That's on Brave, the browser. If we look at some more on-chain token stats, with that big jump in price the other day, transaction counts bumped up to kind of near all-time highs. Not completely, but very close to it. There was a Metaverse Facebook announcement, and for whatever reason, BAT was seemingly bundled into that excitement. I don't know if it was bots buying on some news based on some tag that BAT is the Metaverse thing, or it was just a coincidence, but the timing was a bit weird considering I personally don't consider BAT a Metaverse thing. It can be included in the Metaverse, whatever, but Decentraland and NFTs and all the other stuff to me is more of a direct correlation to Metaverse stuff, but that is irrelevant. It happened. It is what it is. Since then, the transaction counts dropped down significantly, but you can see a big spike there. This transaction count spike could have also just been Brave doling out the rewards. I doubt it because it had been quite low or declining ever since March. Average transaction values also spiked up. So that tells me it was probably not Brave sending a bunch of rewards around. It was probably one entity buying a very large amount. And again, if we highlight the ETH fee problem, average ETH fees are $53 per transaction right now, BTC around $3. And this isn't to say that they should be using BTC over ETH or they should have not used ETH at all. This is just to say, look, it's on ETH. You can't send microtransactions. You can't really send microtransactions on BTC either. If we're talking microtransactions, we're talking fractions of a cent or something like that. And ultimately, the rewards are sent out once a month through Brave. They're not really sent peer-to-peer, if that makes sense. So there's like this KYC AML pass-through either on Uphold or Coinbase or Gemini. But from my understanding, there's no way to send directly from one person to another without an intermediary, which kind of is what it is. It's just important to understand that's how they're able to do it, even with ETH fees being what they are. Because ultimately, if Brave buys a bunch of BAT on Coinbase's ledger or Uphold buys a bunch of BAT on a ledger that's not on chain, they don't pay those fees when they transfer and divvy out all those rewards. If we look at NVT, which is an inverse metric of economic utility relative to price, NVT has continued to decline since 2018. So that says market cap has increased relatively slower than on-chain activity. So that's a definitely bullish thing. Since June, NVT has been flat. So market cap and on-chain activity have basically risen or fallen at the same speed from June 2020. Active addresses have spiked up recently, still nowhere near where they used to be. And my guess is the whole Brave Rewards system got changed with ETH fees, the way they send things out, because you can see the spikes in active addresses here, and you can see how that's declined to multi-year lows aside from recently. And this correlates pretty well with ETH fees. So as ETH fees spiked, active addresses declined, which means they're probably sending BAT to creators just in a different way than they had been doing previously. And as well, just organic token use, token from exchange to person, person to exchange is happening less and less because ETH is so expensive. If we look at MVRV versus price, most coins top out around a 2x multiple. MVRV is measure market cap versus on-chain activity, different than NVT a little bit. And you can see the highs match this pretty well. Around 1.8 in MVRV has been the top in 2018, in April 2021. Currently, we are at 1.3 with price still rising. So still a ways to go, but I would definitely be watching this. If I was actively trading BAT, I would be watching this relatively closely. This is an N of 2, not a big signal, not a lot of data, whatever, but it's still worth paying attention to in my opinion. Brave browser, worldwide Google Trends past 5 years, all-time highs. Again, the browser, incredibly, incredibly popular, which should, at the end of the day, help the token as they integrate more exchanges into the browser, as they integrate NVT galleries and whatever else is the next thing. They're going to be right there to integrate that. They're very crypto friendly from that perspective, which is smart. It's what they need to do. The question is just how much is that going to help the token price, if at all? If we look at BAT worldwide Google Trends past 5 years, that's also increasing to all-time highs as price increases to all-time highs, as people are asking themselves, what the heck is BAT? Why is it up 200% in the past week or whatever it is, based on this metaverse stuff? I think that's why it's up. I don't actually know for certain. It's just a correlation. Correlation isn't causation, but when this happened, we saw a lot of the grayscale coins, Decentraland, BAT. I'm sure there were a few others listed here. Here's BAT. Just skyrocket very quickly that day. So again, my guess is some sort of bot or tagging system or something got into this and is like, yeah, this is metaverse, let's buy it, right? Along with Facebook or whatever. If you look at technicals for BAT on the daily since 2017 on Binance, most of that on the USD pair was just kind of at a quarter. That's kind of where it lived. It ranged for a bit until January, when it kind of got lumped into this DeFi conversation. And if the metaverse bullishness is as bullish as the DeFi stuff was, BAT has plenty more to go in it still. I just don't think that's the case. To me, the metaverse thing was more of a one and done in the near term. It might have effects later on, but until this gets more fleshed out. With the Facebook thing, you got Nike, you got Microsoft getting into it. Everybody and their mother is getting into metaverse stuff, which is fine. I just don't know if that's going to move the needle for BAT like it did in the DeFi days. Regardless, based on fibs, based on technicals, I like this $2 to $50 target. This kind of looks like Zcash post breakout where it has this W double bottom, 5200 crisscross. Now let's say all this fails, I'm wrong. I like a quarter. Ultimately in a bear market, this thing's going back to a quarter. There's no discussion. That's the the highest volume area, point of control. That's the biggest support on the way down. But if everything is bullish and there's an impetus for this thing to do well, I like 250, 2.25, something like that. Cloud still likes it. Cloud didn't really help you get in this on that metaverse day, even though it was starting to lean more neutral from bearish. The technicals really weren't there, which again leads me to believe this was more news based and not really anything else. But this is how it looks on the cloud. It's $1 is another psychological support resist level, along with 50 cents, along with a quarter, along with $1.50. Those are all levels to watch just generally with something that's priced around $1. Against the BTC pair, you can't really tell that it had a big day. It had an obvious bounce on the 2-day chart here, but since inception, this thing has generally just consolidated for a long time, then crashed, consolidated, crashed. It's consolidating here. Again, if you are bullish, you want to see this break 2400 sats with some sort of Adam and Eve characteristic. You could also be looking for inverted head and shoulders here. You could be looking for bullish 5200 cross. You could be looking for an ascending triangle over the next 2 years, right? This could take a while to play out. There's a ton of opportunity cost here. But if you're bullish, 2400 sats is the level, just like a quarter is on the USD pair, because that's where all the volume's been. So if this thing can break 24, it should have a good shot at bullish continuation, something it really has never done since it got listed initially. And BAT ETH on the 2-day had a mega consolidation around 001 from 2018 to mid 2020, broke down and is still in those levels. It had this building bull div that broke down, just the general theme. Is there a fundamental reason to hold BAT over ETH or BAT over BTC? I don't think so. I think this is all just going to be based on technicals. When you see rotations, if you get them, this could also be setting up for Adam and Eve, mean reversion, a bunch of different stuff here. I think it's too early to call that, but you do have what's known as the Adam left, this V here. And just like the BTC pair, that gives you a nice clean level based on volume, the ETH pair gives you a super clean level here based on volume as well, which lines up with the neckline or the horizontal on this chart pattern. So going into 2022, assuming the whole crypto thing doesn't collapse in 2022, I would be watching for a multi-month U-shaped price recovery here into this level, just like on the BTC pair. Lastly, let me just mention the ETH BTC fund and DeFi portfolio. I trade for Tech and Capital and Enzyme.finance, a non-custodial portfolio management solution where you can send ETH or USDC or just watch what I'm doing. You can see everything, including AUM, performance, allocation, all the vaults I'm in here on Year, Comp, and Aave, as well as the trades in the trades tab down below. That's all for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.